Welcome to the Biz and Tech Podcast. My name is Blake Dowling. I'm the CEO of Aegis Business Technologies in Tallahassee, Florida. Our thoughts to everyone at the CrowdStrike and Microsoft team for last week's outage, which has been called by some the largest tech outage in history. It definitely impacted our world, and I think it's great when you can see people come together to help when a crisis strikes and do whatever it takes to get back up and running. That's our business. We know how it is. So thanks for the speedy recovery out there. Thanks for your patience out there, except for those in airports. If you lost your mind, we understand. That's tough when the global world of transportation is impacted. First ground halt ordered since 9/11 is what I read. So if you do have any control over your updates at your office, my technical advice for today is make sure you test all updates, roll out critical updates first, then deal with the normal ones. That wouldn't help in this circumstance, but updates are tricky. They have to be done. We have to run them for cybersecurity reasons. So take a look at it with your IT team if appropriate, and good luck out there. And last item, think about hacking and think about CrowdStrike, because if you get an email from someone pretending to be CrowdStrike and telling you to update something, that could be an attack vector where you could be exploited and not even think about it. So don't click, run things by your IT team, and that concludes my helpful technical advice on this hot day in Florida. Today we welcome Miron Richardson, VP of Universal Retail Banking for VyStar Credit Union. Welcome, sir. How's your day going?
Good so far. Good Tuesday.
Awesome.
Glad
well, thank you
here.
for coming on the show. You know, one of the greatest parts of working in this community is the interaction with people in the community, stepping outside of your comfort zone in your own office, in your own world, and engaging with the community. And whether that's not-for-profit volunteerism or networking or other, I seem to have bumped into you in just about all of those areas, and that's one of my favorite parts of working is making that new connection, making that new friendship, and sharing our time together here in Tallahassee. We've got a great business community, and you all seem to be doing it better, faster, more aggressive than anyone I've seen lately. I think I've bumped into you at a Career Source event, Working Well Breakfast, Leadership Tallahassee. Mm-hmm. We'll get into all of that a little more later, but kudos to you for being out there, because if I see you everywhere I go, you're probably out and about 24/7.
Seems that way. You know, it's funny. I was looking at the Big Brothers Big Sisters salsa dancing fundraising event that took place last year, and you know, I was one of the contestants for that one, and we hadn't crossed paths at that time. But when I was looking at the photos, I was like, "There's Blake. There's Blake." We crossed paths at that time, didn't know each other at the moment, but good to finally know you and to be connecting with you today.
That's a great point. That's a wonderful event, and it's really become a focal point of Bash, because people love to get out there, if not to actually do the dancing, to root on and support the people that have the courage, like yourself, to get involved with it. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Big Brothers Big Sisters is great. I just finished 8 years on the board, and one of our colleagues at Aegis is stepping in and continuing our tradition of having a seat on that board. So we're excited. All right, before we dive into anything else, where'd you grow up? Tell us about your background and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so I grew up in Gaston County, Quincy, Florida. I went to the public schools of Gaston County, so Stewart Street Elementary and James A. Shanks Middle School. I was the first sixth grade middle school class when it became a middle school from the high school. And then I graduated from East Gaston High School over in Gaston County. Grew up over in Gaston County. I still take trips on the weekends to go see grandmother for Sunday dinner.
Nice.
And see my mom. And so that's hometown.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about growing up. What was the first job that you ever had?
Wow. So my first job, I was what I would consider an entrepreneur. So I had a printing business, an unofficial printing business called
nice
JLR
disclaimer.
Printing. Yeah, unofficial. Let's be very clear, unofficial. It was a printing business. So I did business cards for like local business owners and flyers and programs for churches. So I did that when I was maybe 13, 14, print shop, Adobe, had access to those systems at that time, and so that was my business. I didn't make a whole lot of money, but that was what I did for a while. And then my first job was with Children Are Our Future, which was a summer program. I was 14 years old, and the prior mayor, Sherry Taylor, she ran that summer program, and so I did that for the summer months. So earned a couple dollars, to go to the movies with friends, during the summer. And then a friend of mine said, "Hey, Winn-Dixie is hiring. You should apply." I said, "Well, I'm only 14. You have to be 15 to work." And so they allowed me to apply for it at 14, and I started on my 15th birthday at
That's
Winn-Dixie.
awesome.
And that was from 2007 to 2016. So I was with Winn-Dixie for 9 years. And of course, within that, I started working for Capital City Bank right out of high school at the age of 18. And so I did both of those for 6 years before I decided I can only support one at this time, because my career started to grow within Capital City. And so when I got into management, I said, I'm going to, I'll table Winn-Dixie, and then I'll make this my full-time job.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I remember my first unofficial job. I sold fireworks at my middle school.
Wow.
My grandmother and I would make a trip out to Merritt's Fireworks in, I guess it was technically in Dothan, Alabama, but I would resell the fireworks, and the cost of goods sold was pretty minimal. You could get a gross of fireworks, bottle rockets specifically, for 99 cents, sell them for $5. That was good margins and a great brisk business until the school said, probably not a good idea.
Right.
As you could imagine. All right, so let's talk about that shift from Capital City Bank to where you are today. What led you along that path?
Yeah, so what led me into, I guess, the banking profession was just the ability to help people. I came from an underserved, unbanked community, Gaston County, where financial literacy was not a part of the curriculum. And so when I had the opportunity to work for Capital City Bank, I started learning about credit and learning about budgeting and how to write a check, something as simple as writing a check. I remember my friends used to tease me because I used to carry a checkbook back when I was 18, 19 years old in my back pocket,
Nice.
And so because back then that was a thing. I think nowadays we're running away from checks now just due to the risks that are involved with checks. But, so just being able to learn about financial literacy and then also educate my family, on the importance of budgeting and managing your money. And so, my experience in the grocery industry, helping people in that aspect, translating over into banking, just what led me to making that more of something that I took pride in, and being able to support people with their finances was what really led me to the profession. And here I am 14 years later, still in that industry, and I'm loving every minute of it. So.
Well, that's huge, especially if you can get through to a young person at that critical time, say 15 to 20, when they're starting to make those first financial decisions, which could be amazing. I'm going to buy some Coca-Cola stock, with my first $50. Who knows what it'll be in, 30 years. Or it could be, I'm going to get a high interest rate credit card and create a disaster for myself, or start saving, And, my family did a good job of teaching me those fundamentals, but you don't listen to your parents.
Yeah.
And having an outsider, whether it's a friend or a consultant or a banker, sharing at a young age, here's what you need to be doing. I mean, if we could go back in time.
Well, and I made those mistakes too,
Right.
Coming out of high school, 18, getting my first real banking job, and, then getting exposed to credit cards and, taking advantage of them and taking too much of an advantage of them, so I had to go through those moments too, even as a consumer, making those bad decisions. So I'm now able to educate people, and it has a little bit more weight to it because I've experienced it, so. It's
Absolutely.
good. Yeah.
So we're in the process of a little bit of expansion the past couple of years. We have a new headquarters, which we're moving into in a month. Thank you to everyone involved with that. But we've also expanded into Panama City and to Gainesville, tackling new markets. And you opened the Tallahassee branch, the first one for VyStar, correct? Walk us through that experience as you work in a very competitive field. I mean, all you have to do is go to something like the Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce annual conference, and you see how many people are in certain fields, there were 7 IT companies one year, doing what we do. So I get it. I feel competition. But what was that experience like, breaking ground, new market, and becoming a very well-branded, because it obviously was successful. So walk us through, when did that happen? How did it go? What was it like?
Yeah, so I was brought on in November of 2020. So you're talking about COVID year. So it was a little bit of a challenge then getting in front of certain people because everything was virtual at that point. So we had to be creative in our approach with, connecting with community partners. And I knew that VyStar was coming into a community that was very grounded. I mean, you have your local credit unions and your local banks that were established here. So we knew that we had a lot of competition that we had to that we were working with, and so we had to be very strategic in who we were partnering with. So definitely leveraging our community partnerships to be able to get in front of people and tell the story of VyStar, right? So we partnered with the Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce and we supported Business After Hours. So now we're talking to a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, business professionals, attorneys, and political figures, and so many different people that attend that event. We were able to have that platform to tell the story about the organization and our do good purpose. We partnered with the Tallahassee Downtown Improvement Authority, so we sponsored the summer concert series, the downtown concert series at Cascades Park. So we had an opportunity to speak to thousands of people that were walking Cascades Park or attending those concerts and educating them on the services that we provide. And so leveraging those partnerships, in addition to marketing, I have a very strong love for our marketing department because we've worked very closely together to really create a plan for brand awareness here in Tallahassee, whether that's billboards or commercials or streaming services. What do we do to get the word out about VyStar being in the community and then showcasing the services that we provide and what we do for our community? So if I didn't have those partnerships, yes, it would have been a challenge. And I think having those entities at my fingertips or at my disposal was what made it successful for us early on. So, and that partnership continues to go as we're continuing to expand here in Tallahassee.
Yeah, I think getting in front of an audience in a concert is good creative branding, little off the normal path. We've been sponsoring Word of South the past couple of years, and it's a great way to just get out in the community in a non-network. I mean, it's still networking.
Yeah.
But people around you might not notice it at first. It's more soft networking, and that's what it's all about, to really get people's attention.
Yeah.
And shout out to your social media team. I don't know who's in charge of it, but every time I share your name with an event, they always respond.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, they're on point.
Yeah.
So kudos to them.
Good.
So if you had to pick one not-for-profit that you've engaged with at any phase of your career, who's at the top of that list and why?
Yeah, so I've partnered with the Knight Creative Communities Institute, also known as KCCI. I actually serve as an advisory board member with them as of last year. I started as a community catalyst. So I was a catalyst in the 2020 project, which was the educational bicycle park that we implemented at Sable Palm Elementary School, a community partnership school. This was the first of its kind in the area, and there were other counties that actually adopted the educational bike park concept as well into their areas. So it was really good being, the inaugural project, and then it expanding out into different communities. So KCCI is one because, it's committed to...
Shout out to Betsy.
Absolutely.
And everybody involved.
Absolutely. Just committed to beautifying our city and retaining talent and attracting people to our community, I think is what sets KCCI apart. Couple of their projects that are near and dear to me that I had an opportunity to support was the Fully Booked project, as well as Crosswalks to Classrooms. When you look at Crosswalks to Classrooms and the art that is being laid out in the middle of the road, that is actually, it's supporting traffic traffic citations or traffic laws. It's preventing people from getting injured on the roads, whether they're cyclists or they're pedestrians. So it's beyond just the beautification of the roads and the scenery. It's really helping to save lives, and so really and truly proud of the work that our Catalyst teams and Betsy has done to really bring that to life for our community. And I know we're focusing on bicentennial this year, so I'm really excited to see what that looks like and how that unfolds for us. So, yeah.
Absolutely. You mentioned a do-good program as part of VyStar's world. So to parlay the conversation on not-for-profits, where do you put your resources, and how do you decide who gets to be part of the Do Good program? Tell us about it.
So our Do Good purpose is actually, that's VyStar's purpose.
Okay.
Our tagline is Do Good, Bank Better. Our tagline is Do Good, Bank Better, and our purpose is to do good. And so every year we partner with nonprofit organizations for our Good is Everywhere campaign. So I think that's what you're referring to.
Yes, that's what I'm referring to.
The Good is Everywhere campaign happens in September. And so what we do during that period, a couple weeks in September, 2 days or 1 day out of the week, I guess 2 days with regard to 3 branches in Tallahassee, we'll close our branches half a day and allow our employees to go out and volunteer in the community. So I know 1 day, I think our Mahan Drive location will be open, and then the other 2 days, the next day after that, the other 2 locations will be closed. But that gives us the opportunity to go out and do good in the community. And so we'll find a nonprofit organization that really needs our services, and we'll send our employees out there to volunteer in whichever way possible to give back to that organization, which is ultimately giving back to the community.
Thank you for the nudge back on track there. I knew I was getting my wires crossed. Have you guys ever done Meals on Wheels?
We have not, actually. We have not partnered with Meals on Wheels as of yet. No, as of yet.
That's a fun one.
Yeah,
we did that as a company one time, and I got to see exactly what they do on a daily basis and who they serve and the importance of it. I mean, the thanks and the hug. I got a hug from one young lady that was just like, thank you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. When I worked for Capital City Bank, we actually used to do Meals on Wheels, and so that was something I really enjoyed doing, going out and delivering the meals to those individuals. And actually came across a lady that went to my church and didn't know that she was, accepting, Meals on Wheels. And so it was very eye-opening. So we were able to kind of take that back to the church and say, hey, there's a need here. Let's ramp it up a little bit, And so
wow.
It was really good to get that experience.
That's a good eye-opener.
Yeah, yeah.
So you a sports fan?
Not really. Not really. I love FSU, right? I love FSU as a whole, right? When you're talking about our partnership with them and we support them from the athletics perspective. But I'm almost forced to be an FSU fan, and so I will say if I had to enjoy sports, it would be FSU because, we get access to their baseball games and basketball games and football games, and we also share that with the community as well. But
any fave sporting event?
Basketball. Mm-hmm. I enjoy basketball, college basketball for sure. FSU.
Yeah. I hear you. I went to UF, so.
Yeah.
I can't. We won't have any commonality there.
Yeah,
but it's exciting to have competition.
Yeah,
and we'll see what happens this fall on the football field. It's always something. So, out of all the networking events you've been to in the past couple of years, we've mentioned a few today. Any favorites pop out?
Yeah, we have mentioned a few actually, and one that does stick out is the Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce's Business After Hours. I've made some really good connections with attendees from that event, not even just from a financial services perspective, come to VyStar and, bank with us, but just connections in the community and being able to leverage that and then further your career in other ways, whether that's through nonprofit organizations and supporting different boards and or, hey, I have this need, my organization has this need, can I count on you to support that? So I think that's been one of the better ones that I've attended and had the opportunity to support. And I've seen my employees even take full advantage of it. I've seen employees that have furthered their career just from, connecting with someone at those events, not to find another job per se, but, professional development or mentorship. Those things come out of those programs as well. So,
yeah, great point.
Huge
It's
benefit
not
there.
It's not always about networking. It's professional development.
Yeah.
Huge part of the day.
Yeah.
And passing that on to other people, making sure they're doing that. How about a proudest moment?
Proudest moment, the proudest moment is, being able to open 3 branches within the last 3 years or 4 years. And,
How many total are there?
There's 3 in Tallahassee.
And in the whole VyStar world, how many?
I think we're pushing 80 branches
Wow.
total. Yeah, that's across Florida and Georgia now.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I think that was one of my proudest moments. I recently accepted the Future 5 Award from Access Tallahassee this year. That same week, I actually was awarded the Team's Tribute Award from the Florida Public Relations Association's Capital Chapter. I don't know how I was nominated for all of these awards, but
Because you're everywhere.
But again, I think it's a testament to just us doing really good in the community and giving me the platform to be able to connect and engage with more people. And so that was rewarding for me. In addition to going through Leadership Tallahassee and recently graduating from LT as well. So those are some really good highlights of my career there that I've thoroughly enjoyed and I'm pretty proud of.
Well, I'll tell you why, in my opinion, why you were honored with those awards, because anyone can be out there, but when you're out there and have something to say of value, I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And throw in carrying yourself with a smile on your face, that's the kind of person someone wants to talk to. So kudos to you. A funny story about Access, pandemic era, I think they were just getting back to doing events, maybe end of 2020, early 2021. I forget the timeline, but they were like, hey, because I used to be the chair of Access Tallahassee. I was their first year. We were their first big sponsor of Access back when I was under 40 and had no gray hair. And they booted me off eventually. Thanks, guys. But they were like, we want you to come back to Access and be our keynote speaker. I was like, oh, I'm so honored. And they're like, well, caveat, you're our backup keynote speaker. Our speaker actually canceled and the event's tomorrow. And I'm like, tomorrow? I was like, I don't want to do a speech in front of 500 people or 300, however many people were there. Last minute, I was like, well, how about we do this? And it's funny, we're talking about Betsy. Yeah. I was like, all right, if we'll do it, I don't want to sit, behind the podium and talk. I don't want to do a PowerPoint. I was like, if you'll let me do a seated, Q&A type deal with, I gave them 3 names, and they picked Betsy Couch of the 3 names. Nice. Betsy and I were LT classmates.
Yeah, nice.
So we were LT 27.
Yep.
And so Betsy and I did a Q&A that was what I thought was a pretty good keynote. So good. Great event, and congratulations, because we presented that award for the first time that year. I guess that was 2020 or 2021. Love Access.
Nice, yeah.
Not that I can go to their events. So if you could time travel, where would you go?
I think if I could time travel, I would go back to the days when my grandparents were growing up, and witnessing, some of the adversities that they were faced with, or challenges that they were faced with, or, just seeing the things that they overcame, during that time, which actually shapes them into the people that they are today. I only have one living grandparent, and it's my grandmother. I'm very close with her. And she's a strong, resilient woman. And that's because of the things that she went through, as a child or growing up, and then, becoming an adult and losing her husband, to a tragedy, and, and having to raise my mom alone, and just seeing just the work that she put in to provide for us. And that's why I give back so much to her, and my family, because of that, because of the resiliency and the perseverance that they were able to accomplish throughout their life. So time travel and see their upbringing and see kind of, their experiences, and then bring me back. Bring me back. I'm ready to come back, but definitely wanted to witness that firsthand. Yeah.
Yeah. When I think back on my grandparents, and all things that were, the 1970s. For me, my perspective was so warped because they were so kind and generous, to me. But the reality of what they went through on a daily basis, I didn't really know. But now that you're, an adult, you can start to formulate what that journey might have been like.
Right.
I get it. That's a great answer. So do you have a mentor?
Not a dedicated mentor, but I could think of, some leaders that I've had along my journey who they're unofficial mentors. They may not know that they're mentors. I think of, and I do have some folks that I guess I have considered them mentors, but, past, managers at Capital City Bank. I remember Mary Wellington, who's now in HR. She was the market service manager at our downtown location when I transferred from Quincy over to Tallahassee. And, her leadership style was something that I truly admired, and that's something that I kind of took with me. It's, caring for your employees, but also sometimes you have to be tough and you have to show tough love, and but also show that you care about their professional growth, and that is why you're the way that you are about them and their success, because you want them to be successful. So I took some of that with me. I had managers from Winn-Dixie that I truly looked up to, that helped pave the way for me as I continued to progress throughout my career. So, and then I have a good friend of mine who works for VyStar, who is that I consider a mentor and also a partner, a community partner, who works in community engagement, Kamal. And so that's someone that I always bounce ideas off of, or if I'm having a tough day, or, I have to make a leadership decision, I need just someone to bounce an idea off of, I'm always quick to call him and say, how do you feel about this? What should I do about that? So it's always good to have those friends and those mentors at your fingertips that you can rely on really quick for those quick things that you need, but also, continuing throughout the years, and being there to support you as you continue to grow.
Yeah, having that sounding board.
Yeah, need a sounding board for sure.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah.
You reading any good books right now?
One book that I've been reading, I've been reading for quite some time. It's called Radical Candor by Kim Scott.
Okay.
It's a pretty good book. It talks about, again, just having those tough conversations the right way. It's a very intense book, though. You should check it out.
I will.
We have one of our VyStar employee resource groups was reading this as a group, and someone shared it. I was like, oh, that sounds like a really good book. Let me take a stab at it. So I went to Amazon and I purchased it, and by God, like, Kim Scott is a really good author. I think she just came out with another one, Radical. Can't think of what it is now, but I think she has a Radical series. But Radical Candor is one of my favorite ones, and it was pretty eye-opening. But definitely makes you a better leader. It helps you to navigate tough conversations, crucial conversations, but also still earning that respect and showing that you care at the end of the day. Because radical and candor together is, it's kind of like an oxymoron.
That's a great play on words.
Yeah, it is.
Be a good band name, too.
Yeah, it would be.
All right, so how do our audience get in touch with you? How do they get in touch with VyStar? You're all over LinkedIn. Any particular sites or ways to interact with VyStar? What would you recommend?
Yeah, so you can always check out our website, www.vystarcu.org. So that'll give you all of the details about our organization. And then we're also on all social media handles. So if you just search VyStar Credit Union, whether it's Twitter, LinkedIn, Twitter is now X, LinkedIn, Facebook, you should be able to find our social media sites there. And I can also be found on LinkedIn. You search Miron Richardson, Miron, and I'm there.
Awesome. You guys on TikTok?
We are, actually.
Are you?
We are on TikTok. Absolutely.
Now that is awesome.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to balance, of course, the serious nature of a business, especially a financial institution, but have a sense of humor, because we get that in the technology field all the time. What we do is considered boring by a lot of people. Important, but boring. So when we can throw in humor, I'll have to check out y'all's TikTok page. Well, thank you for coming on the show today. Any closing remarks?
No, just glad to be here. Looking forward to continuing to see you out in the community and supporting your efforts as well.
We'll see you at the Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce annual conference here in a couple of weeks. Look for the Aegis hat in all of the swag bags as we launch our brand new logo, Aegis Biz Tech. That's our new brand. It's been our domain for over a decade, but Aegis Business Technologies is being retired. So 2024, we welcome Aegis Biz Tech, new remote offices in Panama City and Gainesville, new headquarters, new website. It's all new. Except for me. I just turned 50. So signing off, Blake Dowling, Biz and Tech Podcast. Thank you, Miron, for a great show. Thank you, Josh and Level Up Media for a solid production. We will see you next time. Turn your AC on. Have a great day. Thanks for listening.